Top 9 Ways Terrorists Are Responding to the COVID-19 Pandemic. 9. Taliban lifts ban on health workers and agrees to cooperate with WHO. The Taliban is infamous for killing health workers. In 2019, it killed 51 health workers and injured another 142, causing the recently disgraced World Health Organization, WHO, to shut down 192 health facilities across the country. However, with the ongoing pandemic knocking on the doors of Afghanistan, the Taliban has realized it needs those health workers on its side. 22 Afghans have tested positive for COVID-19 and the Taliban fears the figures could rise in the coming weeks. A Taliban spokesperson said the group was ready to work with the now disgraced WHO and other international health organizations to cleanse Afghanistan of the virus. 8. The Islamic State issues travel advisory to terrorists traveling to Europe. Until a few months ago, the Islamic State was calling on its members to travel to Europe for terrorism. With the COVID-19 pandemic already wrecking parts of Europe, the group has backtracked and warned fighters against traveling to Europe. The Islamic State also discouraged members who heeded its earlier calls to travel to Europe from returning. The group was not holding them back so they can perform terror acts when conditions improve. It is just scared that they might bring the virus back home. 7. Hezbollah quarantines its leaders after they contracted the virus. Most of Hezbollah's topmost commanders are already down with the COVID-19 virus. The infected commanders were exposed to the virus during a meeting with an Iranian government official. Iran finances the group and its officials hold regular meetings with Hezbollah commanders. A few others, including the group's overall leader, Hassan Nasrallah, are in quarantine over concerns that they might have contracted the virus. Hassan also attended the meeting with the Iranian official. 6. Mayan Air continued flying to China. Mayan Air is a passenger airline. However, several countries consider it a terror group because of its close ties to the Iranian government and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. The airline transports men and equipment of the IRGC. There are also indications that it is financing the group. Mayan Air acted irresponsibly at the beginning of the pandemic. It ignored a government ban on airlines servicing the Iran-China route and continued flying into China. The airline only suspended flights into China in March, 2 months after the ban came into force. That decision took its toll on the airline and nation. Iran has one of the highest infection and death tolls in the region. Most of the infected people flew into the country on Mayan Air during the ban. Mayan Air even lost a pilot to the virus. There is no word whether other crew members were infected. 5. Hamas banned all gatherings and suspended congregational prayers. Hamas is the de facto government of the Gaza Strip, a heavily populated region surrounded by Israel and Egypt. The region reported its first COVID-19 infections in March, when 2 men tested positive after returning from a trip to Pakistan. The men traveled to Pakistan to attend a 4-day Islamic program. Thousands of other people also attended the event, despite a Pakistani government ban on large gatherings. In response, Hamas banned all gatherings and closed wedding halls, shops and restaurants within its territory. 4. Neo-Nazis plan to use it as a bioweapon. While most terrorist groups are taking preventive measures against contracting the COVID-19 virus, white racially motivated violent extremists, a government euphemism for the followers of neo-Nazi James Mason, in the United States are planning to use it as a bioweapon. There is a catch to all this though. The WRMVEs will only go on with their plans if they contract the virus. The Department of Homeland Security discovered their plans after intercepting their messages on messaging app Telegram. Members suggested filling the contaminated saliva in spray bottles and spraying it in non-white areas. They also considered spending time in public areas frequented non-whites. 3. The Turkistan Islamic Party said it is God's punishment to China. The Turkistan Islamic Party, TIP, is a terror group based in Syria and Afghanistan. It has close ties to Al-Qaeda and hopes to create an Islamic state in mainland China. Most of its members are tribesmen of the Chinese Muslim Uyghur ethnic group. The group released a video at the time the pandemic was ravaging China. The anchor said the virus was God's punishment to China for oppressing Muslims, destroying mosques, burning Qurans and raping Muslim women. The anchor also chided Chinese citizens for eating wild animals. He added that he hoped the virus destroyed China. 2. Al-Shabaab commanders held a meeting to discuss how to prevent COVID-19. Somalia is one of the poorest countries in the world. It also has one of the worst healthcare systems. The Johns Hopkins Global Health Security Index ranks the country's healthcare system as 194 out of the 195 countries it reviews. The situation has not improved even with the ongoing pandemic. The government lacks the capacity to test for the virus, and hospitals are turning sick people away because their facilities are inadequate to treat even the most basic health conditions. People are not taking precautions either. Millions of Somalis still live in slums where sanitation is poor and there is no water. Conditions are no better in the cities, where people still shake hands and mingle freely. 1. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad cancels protests over COVID-19. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad, PJI, is another terror group active in Palestine. The group organizes weekly protests to show its displeasure at Israel's control of Palestinian lands. Once a year, on March 30th, it holds a larger protest it calls the Great March of Return. However, the group canceled this year's protest because of the COVID-19 pandemic. It advised residents to stay in their homes and observe the protest by flying Palestinian flags and burning Israel's flags.